to hold the bend until the night before I got on my plane to here. Suddenly came to me. In an hour, this thing, well, I just threw it together. Yeah, a couple of bits of fencing wire, twist them into a rope, goes through the middle. Yeah, you can bend it to any shape or size of head that you want. And I won't do it now because I might stress the metal too much, but you can bend it flat as well to put it into my suitcase. So anyone who's interested, please let me sculpt. Come and see me this evening. I've got a lot to do today, but I'm more than happy to talk with whatever voice I have left after today about that and pass the information on.
Can you post that on the forum?
I would happily, when I've got time.
When you get back in England, Joe?
Yep. Yep.
Because most of us aren't going to remember half what we learned here anyway.
Well, I hope I'm passing something on, you know. Anyway. Okay, timber framing. I don't know how I got onto that. Oh yeah, right, the dust and everything. Very traditional. This is another area I'm working in, is architecture. One of my colleagues in the Coppice group, a man called Ben Laws, every show I go to, people say, oh, do you know that guy on telly who built that amazing house in the woods? We have a program called Grand Designs where people build their own houses. Well, Ben Laws is a Coppice traditional charcoal maker and Coppice worker. And he built this house with his bare hands out of small diameter chestnut. It is absolutely to die for. And everything's sustainable. He's got natural reed ponds for sewage dispersal. And you can imagine, you know, he's really into this. Well, everyone admires him, but I thought I'd try and do a different angle on it to try and use the Coppice to create new products. I think I've got a couple more slides of. This is the kind of framework he uses. It's very English, traditional. It's called a crux frame, which has got this A-frame assembly, and that's them erecting one. There's also, this is brilliant, chap in Wales got permission to start reworking a Coppice woodland, and he also got permission for a temporary home. So he built it out of the trimmings from the first oaks that he took down. Now a lot of people think you can't fell oak trees. This is not the case. I can do it all the time as long as I have license and permission to do it. And the reason we fell them is because it's farming wood, you know, and then there's money to pay for the replanting. And for every oak that we fell, we plant at least 10, if not 100 by the end of the year, with new woodland planting as well. We always overstock. Anyway, he took the trimmings of the oak and he built this beautiful hobbit house, if you like, from Lord of the Rings, for he and his wife. It uses a roof truss called a reciprocal framework. It's self-supporting, and the more pressure you put on it, the more it locks together. So you can use it as a turf roof. So he laid the whole building with a membrane for the wet, and then straw bales, which I hasten to add Ben Law's house was done with as well. Yeah, and then he put a turf roof on it. It's so efficient, it's unreal. It hardly has to heat this thing, you know. Go on slideshow, and it's aesthetically, it's just so beautiful. Can you imagine living in these spaces? You know, where you're living with you live in a living structure. Okay, so here's one of my attempts at a new product. This is a champagne flute made out of oak. I am, as you will see, if you know any of my work, obsessed with making holes. If you take a bit of wood, what are you going to do? Put a hole through it. Yeah, I am. Yeah. If you think I'm boring now. Right. Am I into boring? I'm telling you. So I discovered a tool called a taper bung auger, my obsession with tools, which was used for creating a tapered hole in a barrel for the bung. And I thought, I can bore with that. That's cool. So I got one second hand. It's like 1789 it had on the handle. I don't know if the vendor was lying to me or not. These are ancient tools as well. These are they're called clog knives, and they're basically a freehand guillotine. It's a knife on a big lever with a hook on the end that goes into a stock. Yeah, and the force you can drive that through wood is just unbelievable. And these are used for making clogs. So they got all different profiles. So it's actually a set of gouges as well. Yeah, and that's how they would shape the outside of a wooden clog. So that was another tool I investigated. Here's the taper bung auger. And some draw knives that were used for pulling. I'm sure you've seen these. I'm sure you have. I don't know. I've never been to America, but I'm sure you've got all similar tools to this. This is a rig I made for a stock knife. And this is my special boring machine. All my time last year I spent on developing this. It's taken the pole lathe, which again I'm sure you've got, into the dragging, screaming into the 21st century. I've made it so it's got a sliding tailstock with a special boring knife that's designed around the taper bung auger. Yeah, and I can just put wood into it and it bores the hole in a goblet, i.e. this champagne flute, although I went on to make goblets. If we go on to the next slide, here it is, the working centre. It's got this special knife that I made, and also the stock knife which I use. Here we go. Stop rattling, Roger. Here's the article. Yeah, that's from a piece of small diameter roundwood. And I haven't actually got it up to the speed I want yet. The whole idea is to make objects that are still handmade, but at truly economical rates, and to find the balance in between industrial production and handmade objects. And it's all about that hole, because it's the most difficult thing to do on a lathe, is to bore a hole. Yeah, it takes the longest time, and I do it in one. Yeah, the knife is the shape of the inside of that goblet. Yeah, so as an engineer, this is me as Roger the engineer coming back into wood, and I spent a lot of time on this. To be honest with you, I spent so much time on it, it nearly bankrupted me, so I thought I've got to move on, and I'll come back to it. I will, but I've got my product, I just haven't quite got it. I wanted it done in 7 minutes. It takes me about 25 at the moment. Sorry? Yeah, of course. It's made out of sweet chestnut, which is not ideal because it's actually quite a coarse fibrous wood. Yeah, it does leak. You do have to seal it because, as we all know, the tube's the long grain, and it's not particularly smooth because of the coarseness of it. But it is a good example of the shaping. And I use the stock knife that goes across the bed of the lathe. I use as an index cutter. Yeah, because I can turn it. And that's how I do the faceting, which is bringing influences of other material into the wood sphere, because that's how cut glass or cut glass faceting, yeah, in metal and glass as well on round objects. Anyway, I'll move on. Come on, Rog. Got so much to do. So goblets. Here's a beautiful one that I made, and another one. Right, frameworks. This is my new workshop made out of small diameter roundwood chestnut. It's designed specifically with the shape. The idea is that it's open and it has a ventilation system, so I can use my saw in there. But it's very windy where I am, so it's designed that it will suck air out but not come in. That's the idea. And it's a unit component part assembly. I call it, what do I call it? It's kind of like wood meccano, you know, with a simple jointing system. I've developed something that you could produce en masse very easily with a few tools, just cross-cutting and then drilling holes and doing round mortise and tenons. The tools actually come from America. They're Veritas, I'm sure you're familiar with them. And this is a hyperboloid, which is one of the strongest structures known to man, which they would, if they built an elevator to the moon, that's what they would build it out of. It's the shape of a cooling tower. Anyway, I'll move on. This was an early model of a truss that I made, a similar system, and this is me building my first prototype. It's just a barrel arch at the moment. It's the central portion of that design that I showed you. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm feeling maybe I should go this side for a minute. Right, okay, enough. On to sculpture. Right, as you can see, my source is woodland, sustainability, many different things come up in everything that I've been talking about. So my whole life's work as a sculptor has been about promoting these ideas and all the experiences I've had and taking it to the public. Yeah, most of my work's been public. I'm not a speed carver. All right, I say that because, why do I say that? You know, this is all so new to me. It's just been such the most amazing experience to meet you all. Yeah, it's so overwhelming. I don't know. I'll move on. Anyway, the chain. The chain I made for an exhibition show called the South of England Show. It's the biggest country show in our part of the country. It's designed to represent the chain of events which is traditional coppice management. But this is where I started the process that I now use today, which is to pictorially document everything that I do, yeah, and produce a story, yeah, so people can see the process and become involved into the project, yeah, to take it to the people. So I can actually zoom in on this, hopefully, if my thingy works. Yeah, here we go. So, can I just ask, can anyone actually see this, or am I just a few at the front? A few at the front. I'm sorry. All right, it's good to know that, because I won't dwell too much on the pictures. These are now just my flipboards, if you like, for myself to start me off. But it does, as you can see, the pictures depict the story and the way that I've marked the object out from the tree. Yeah, I've stripped all the bark and the sapwood off. You know, this is part of my meditation. The first thing I would do, and I love problem bits of wood. I love things with issues, because that's my start, you know. I spent hours rolling it about. You know, when you pick up a piece of wood to make a sculpture, the first thing you do is start tipping it up, looking around it, getting to know it. You do that with a 4-ton log. Well, I'm exaggerating. A 3-ton log. Yeah? I will actually spend 2 or 3 days, yeah, stripping it, removing the sapwood, long ripping cuts all day long with my mask on, looking like an alien. Yeah. Eventually I find the surface of the heartwood of an oak, because you can't use the sapwood, it will rot. And that's the form I start with. That is my limit for the beginning. And then I model it. I actually take photographs all the way around of it, and I got into computer modelling, and I used to make wireframe models of my bits of wood and design the sculpture within that limitation on a computer in a 3D world. And that's how I worked for many years.